morning. Did you have a good St. Patrick's Day? Did you do anything special, or was it just another Sunday being an entrepreneur?
Just another Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, because every day before that was like work, so you just need your weekend.
I get it, man. I get it. So please tell us your name, your company, and your service. I forgot to mention that. And then where we are.
Okay. My name is Joseph Zoleta. I'm a Marine Corps veteran.
Nice.
My company is called Black Six Coffee Trading Company.
Okay.
We're a coffee roaster and importer, and we use it to fund our own nonprofit called the Black Six Project.
Okay.
The Black Six Project is a veteran-led humanitarian aid organization, and it existed about 2 years ago before the coffee company became to be.
Got it. What'd you do in the Marine Corps?
I was a grunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where were you?
0311.
Yeah, same. When I was enlisted, I was at 2.5. What about you?
I was a 2.5.
Yeah!
I was golf company.
No kidding, I was Echo.
Echo.
That was forever ago. That was 2000, 2002. Oh, 2000 to 2002, so.
I was 2002 to 2006.
Crazy.
Yeah, I got
Crazy.
recruited out of here in New York. I used to be an intern at the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things like I didn't wake up to go to work on time, and you see the World Trade Center attacks, and next thing you know, you decide to go to the Marine Corps.
Wow.
Yeah.
What were you interning at?
I was actually on the trading floor for future commodities. I wasn't in finance initially. I was in high school in Long Island City in Queens, and us Marines, we tend to be a little rough around the edges in high school, and I wasn't really going to graduate, so.
Wow, like, I know you. Like, we must be related. Yeah.
Yeah, so the principal was like, listen, I'm going to line you up with some internships, and you'll go to them and you'll get your diploma, or else you're just going to get your GED. So I was like, all right.
You'll never forget that person.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I got arrested for underage drinking 2 days before high school graduation, after I was already in the delayed entry program. And the guy's like, you're lucky you're going to the Marine Corps. And I'm like, yes, I am. Like, I'm a complete idiot. So tell me about that real quick. I want to go back. So you were getting ready for work, and I mean, obviously 9/11 is like, where were you and all this other stuff. You were right here. You worked there, and then your life, a lot of people's lives changed that day, but yours changed dramatically because you were on the floor, and the next thing you're on the yellow footprints probably. So talk to me about the decision. And
I really overslept that morning. My friend called me, and he called and said, "Hey, are you at work?" And I was like, "No." He says, "Look out your window." And if people remember, the World Trade Center was like really tall. Even though I was in Queens, I could see it out like my bedroom window, and I look outside and it's like smoking. And then I was like, oh my goodness, and being like a aviation buff, we were like, hey, this is probably an accident. A bomber crashed into the Empire State Building like shortly after World War II. So we were like, it's an accident. And then we saw the second plane crash, and then sort of like a few minutes later, talking on the phone, all the cell phone service in New York City went dead. So then, you like think about like, what's your purpose? Like, I wasn't really into finance. I kind of needed it to pass high school, and I met like really good people there. So I was like, what do you do from here? So I was like, let's join the Marines.
That's crazy. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your career, just a little bit about where you were, and obviously 0311 for the civilians is who don't know is infantry. But tell us a little bit about your overall career and then your decision to leave.
Let's see. My career was like you join like as a 0311. Mostly do what you've always thought Marines will do. And
what's that?
It was just like be in the front line, shoot stuff up, blow things up, and that's what I really wanted to do. And then really that's the short 4 years I was in. I was there doing the Operation Iraqi Freedom, from sitting on the borderline Iraq, just living in a foxhole for a few months and just like waiting forever in the heat to get the word to cross the border. So after that, we pushed into Iraq, came back, You come from a junior Marine or the boot to not becoming a senior Marine. And then we did our workup, and then I returned for a second deployment to Ramadi, Iraq. And then that one was now as a senior Marine. Was attached. I was part of the headquarters platoon, which was the Black Platoon, and hence the company's name is Black 6 because our platoon was the Black Platoon. And it was just mayhem for the next 9 and 10 months. I was from just being on advanced party, and we relieved another Marine battalion, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, and just seeing what they went through, and the contrast of what I went through during OEF1 is like, this is a different game. So I remember calling back to Camp Pendleton, telling the people, our Marines there, like, hey guys, you better like bring your A game. This is like totally different than the first tour.
Yeah, unbelievable. And then, so you did 4 years. Did you plan on doing 4 years only? Or were you like, I think I've had enough. I came, I did what I wanted to do. Or what was the decision-making process?
Like when I left for the Marines, I was with, now my wife. And we were like a really good relationship. And she goes, promise me you'll do only 4 years. And then I was like, all right, I promise. But then you come to that point where you've been deployed twice, and you're sort of like, this is like the only thing I'm good at, right? But we've lost a few Marines. A lot of us got injured, and like our corpsman at that time, Doc McDonald, was like, "Okay, Zoleta, this isn't for you. Like, there's so much like left in the world to do. So like, why don't you get out?" And he was like the guy. He was the voice of reason. The doc is always the voice of reason.
I know.
So he goes, why don't you go be a paramedic or go into EMS back in New York City? And as a Marine, as a grunt, you're just like intimidated by medicine. I thought, we were just like so used to like digging holes, carrying stuff, shooting stuff, and that's it. And I was like, I don't know like anything about medicine. I just know like change your socks, take a Motrin.
Yeah.
So he was like, hey, listen, if you worked as hard as you did in the Marines and studied as hard, you'll be fine. And I was like really nervous. I was like, oh, like the crayon eating Marine, and literally I was like studying so hard, and I made a really good EMS career out of since I got out of the Marines.
I think it's crazy, man. Like, you had the principal looking out for you. You had this doc. Like, there's like these people like throughout your life that kind of just step in there and they're just like, hey, man, like, this is probably a good direction for you. And I want to get into the company, but the last thing I want to finish up on is, the crayon eating Marine. Like, I get it, man. Like, we there's a perception of us. We get shit done, period. Like, we love what we do. We love each other. The camaraderie is second to none. It's inexplicable. It's hard to explain combat to people and all this other stuff. But, like, why do you think that we are not able to fathom doing something else? Like, you doubted yourself, even though you did amazing things, right? But like, here you are, the doc saw something, but why do you think, this is just an opinion question, why do you think we don't see ourselves as having the talent to do other things?
A lot of it is just like, we're so, I feel like boot camp has done a great thing into like programming you to not think but initiate. And then without kind of like someone giving you some kind of direction on where the mission is or the overall strategy, we're sort of like, you're like left in limbo. It's like, like OEF1, like, just this is a metaphor. You get pushed out of the Amtrak, like on the raid, but then you end up like nothing. Like, your squad's not behind you, you don't have a weapon, and you're all of a sudden like, wait, I just came out of a helo, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, what was the mission? So there's no, there's no direction, and all that sort of fades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me why and how you decided to start this business, and how you discovered the nonprofit.
I've been a paramedic for a while. There's a few service members that have gone to EMS here in New York City, and there's like things that we always wanted to do. Especially there's a lot of immigrants here in New York City that always want to like go back internationally to their home country, especially me. Give back to communities that have been like kind of forgotten, and we're like, hey, if there's like, I've always had this feeling to do missions, but then now I have a different skill set of medicine. So we were like, why don't we combine them together?
Love it.
Right? Like, no more packing ammo, let's pack medication. We have the ability to plan and motivate a team and bring them somewhere where they've probably like never been to, but always imagined to be. So something like then told me like, why don't you go back to, I'm from the Philippines, but I came here like when I was really young, like 4 years old. And I've always like had this vision of like bringing care to this tribe that's in the island I'm at in the Philippines called the Mangyan. And they've always been like treated as a minority. And so I was like, that's like the perfect place to bring like our skills. So I gathered a team together, told them what we were gonna do, and like look for more volunteers, and everyone's like, let's do it.
Oh my God.
So
I want to volunteer.
Yeah.
No, like I absolutely want to talk after this. This is awesome.
So that's how it pretty much started. We went over there. I took about 4 paramedics. I took my best friend from high school, the one that called me up and said, "Hey, you awake?" And he does videography now.
Oh, nice.
So he's also Filipino, which also helps with like the language, and which also leads into the coffee part. But he did like biggest part was we had to show video for it or media and like to tell the story of the Mangyan, because before planning it, you do your Google recon. You can't I couldn't find so much information on this tribe.
Yeah.
So it really shows how it's like an untouched tribe or untreated tribe. No one's gathered intel or information on them. So I made sure we bought a good media team with us, and ones that were like, they're not gonna complain they're stuck in the forest for a little bit. So we did that. Great footage, and it was just like it felt like a memorable time.
Yeah.
So when we got back here, I was like, this is something we had to pursue.
You found your calling?
Yes. Yes. But I still was working full time as a paramedic. I still advancing my career, and then I was like, oh, we got to do like some other stuff like that. And just like life gets in the way until like I really wanted to commit to it now.
And then so what was the decision point for you to be like, that's it, I'm all in?
So like we did some other missions. We went to Puerto Rico a month after the hurricane. We sent one team to go, and then we sort of rotated another team, and we went to like different parts. And then we did another mission to Philippines to bring like disaster relief supplies in this northern part of the Philippines. It's called Benguet. It was like hit with a typhoon and landslides. So while we were up there, with my team, they saw there was like some coffee trees, and I was like, oh, and I was just like beginning to roast. And I was like, they sell coffee here? And then they were like, yeah, they've been selling it they've been growing it for centuries. I was like, oh, like, do they have any left? They're like, yes, they have they took us to like a building there, and they're like, yeah, we have this one sack left. And
hold on, so did the light bulb go off because you wanted to make sure you could stay caffeinated, or because you were already thinking business?
Part of it was business.
Yeah.
Because I was like, everywhere I seem to be going, there's going to be coffee there. So I was like, let's see what we could do with this. And this was like a unknown region that makes coffee. So you think of coffee, you think of Colombian coffee, Mexico, all the other places, but not Philippines. So I was like, would it be like exotic if I took this back? And I actually had a backpack from another veteran-owned company, Backpacks for Life.
Oh yeah, here, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I met Brett, and I was like, Brett, this is also backpack. Can I test it? Yeah. And he's like, sure. Like, you're gonna get good pictures out of it. And then that's what I had up there. Yeah. And I was like, all right. So I emptied out the bag, which was really all the solar stuff, the lamps, and I was like, man, is this like 21 kilo bag gonna fit in there? And it fit perfectly.
That's so funny.
And it's like, imagine if I bought my other backpacks. Like, this was a rucksack. All the other backpacks were like all compartments and stuff. It wouldn't fit. So I was like, this is perfect. And I got it in there, tied it up, and we like hiked off the hill and we threw in the thing. And then it was also the perfect bag to fit in check-in. So here I am with a huge bag, but it was just perfect, but dense. Crazy, yeah. And I threw it in there, and I came back to the U.S. I roasted it, and I was like, hey, this is pretty good stuff. I was like, let me sell it online. Let's see how well it does. So we launched our website November 11th, Veterans Day.
Yeah.
And our mission was October, so it was just like shortly afterward.
Which year?
Just last year.
Oh, wow.
2018.
Nice.
So after it sold, like in a week, I was like, well, maybe we have a business. And then I was like, and it'll fund our missions, because as a nonprofit, we're always trying to find ways to fund our mission. And as also, I saw definitely as a New Yorker and as a first responder, how much like this world depends on coffee, especially you work overnight. And I was like, this is like probably the thing to do. Yeah. So I went on other trips. I went to Guatemala, spoke to communities about what we could do for them, and then spoke to the farmers and have tried to link up to them. And then I went back to Philippines. I had to get another few sacks of that coffee, bring it back here, and took some from another region. And then I was like, this is going to be like something good. Because on top of them making coffee, the government was sort of backing the farmers. And if you understand, like, government in a lot of third world countries is like pretty corrupt, but just to see the government give education, give machines, they were trying to help replace plants that were destroyed in the typhoon. I was like, they're gonna expand and grow.
That's great. Unfortunately, we have to kind of wrap up, but two questions are, where can we find you online? And then the last question would be, how are you liking the Veterans in Residence program? So where can we find you, and then the Veterans in Residence?
You could find us on our website. It's black6coffee.org.
Is it SIX or 6?
The number 6.
Okay, Black 6 Coffee.
And then the nonprofit's black6project.org, and you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. Awesome. Same handle, Black 6 Coffee and Black 6 Project.
Awesome.
And then for Veterans in Residence, it's like one of the biggest things that helped me like narrow things down and focus. Yeah. Or else I'm just pretty much distracted with the world, and I get to meet a lot of resources and like be part of a community which everyone's trying to do the same thing, and they share their resources too, or they share their experiences. And it's sort of like having that salty Marine tell you, like, this is how we've done things, and it's like, it worked well during those wars. So this is the same thing. You hear people's battles and find out what's been successful to them. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so now you're getting off the helo, but there's a couple people showing up.
Yeah. It turns out they're like in a different stick.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's so funny because my audio, I've been like, this is new for me. Like, you and I started at the same time. Well, I started like, October-ish doing this with my company, but like sound has always been kind of a pain. And as it would have it, with an Army guy who's obsessed with audio, Clear Combo Studios, and he's like, oh, you're doing this wrong, you need to use this on Adobe, and I'm like, cool. You know what I mean? But it's just like crazy because we all have the same mission. Like everyone wants each other to win so badly.
Yes.
I think that's just like this intangible that you really can't get anywhere else.
Yes, it's like it becomes a force multiplier. It's because like there's people like you, I'm sure yourself, you're seeking people to like that are in the same trenches as you are, and you're only gonna do better if you guys advance as a line, right? So that's what I love about it. There's no other way I think our businesses as veterans could increase exponentially if like we didn't have this kind of community.
I agree. I mean, I can't think of a single time where I've said a problem and they're like, oh yeah, me too, or no, this is what I did. You know, and that's all you need.
Yes.
You know, but anyway, all right, man. Well, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Yes, thank you.
I'm gonna stop there.